What is an interactive prototype? How can you start creating your first prototypes using Framer and React? Hey hackers, I'm Jorge and this is a workshop that I gave recently in my company. Send me in the comments your first prototypes, let me know if you have any questions or any thoughts, any ideas, subscribe and thumbs up. See you in the next video and hope you like it.
So the first question is, close the laptop. No. The first question is, how many of you have written any lines of code? Ever? All right. In the Hangouts, any of you? Hands up, I can see you guys. All right, great. So I'm Jorge, so I'm not gonna introduce myself, but I'm gonna do a little bit of a spam. So this is my YouTube show. All of you should check it out. Developers in Dev. Anyway, so what we are going to cover today. So first we're going to start with the concepts. What's Framer? What are the very basic stuff that you need to use in order to start building your first prototype? Then we will go to building your first interactive prototype, which is something that I think you will love it. And then I would like to dive deep a little bit on React. Like first starting with the motivation, like what's programming? How can you start learning a little bit more about it? And we will use React as a way to building like new components on Framer, and we are going to integrate that into the application. So expect to be collaborating and to doing lots of stuff that are in the workshop. So my goals for is learn Framer, not Fraser, Framer. Learn Framer, then an introduction to React, and build your first prototype. Those are my 3 goals for you today. So hi everybody, this is Framer. So we're gonna start covering the basics. So I'm gonna start with the outcome, like what are you actually gonna build today? So first, on the left side, we're gonna build our first prototype. So it's very simple design. It's basically like kind of like copying Instagram feed. And in the second one, basically we're gonna like do like a more advanced stuff. So I did that yesterday. It's free. Oh my God, I just love it. And you can like run different actions. So you have the feature albums, then you have the list of albums, and you can do several things with that. So we're gonna do that. For those of you that haven't installed yet Framer, just go and do it. And if you wanna follow like all the instructions while I'm doing the stuff, just feel free to do it. I know some of you have Framer already open. So we are gonna start like building the first prototype. So we are now gonna focus on the header. So adding an image, adding an options button, as well as a follow button. So the first concept that we are gonna introduce in Framer is a frame. So basically a frame is kind of like, well, I don't really know how you call this in Sketch, but it's kind of artboard. So that's pretty much the same concept. So I'm gonna select an, let's say, Apple iPhone XR. So the second thing that we're gonna do is we are gonna start adding the avatar. So in Framer, you can just simply like create a square. So I'm using the command F, or you can actually click on the sidebar to the left. And then once we have the frame, if I focus on this area and I like resize, I can make it round. So this is the first thing that we're building. And then if you click on the panel, on the part that it says fill, so yeah, you can change the color or we can upload an image. So that's what we are gonna do. Is the 4th icon. I think this is pretty similar to Sketch. So you may already have familiarized with that UI. Okay, so I've just drag and drop the image and we can see it live on the left side. Now we are gonna build this button here, the follow button, and Emilio asked a great question, which is, what is a round shape? So it's basically a frame with some restrictions, which is applying a specific border radius on the left and on the right side. So as you can see here, Emilio, if I click on this shape, I can make it round, but this is perfect for buttons that you want to include like some border radius on the buttons. Okay. So it's basically like the shape will be straight, and then on the corners you can put it some border radius. It's some constraints on the frame itself. So I've just create one round. Again, you can either click on the left side where it says round, or you can press the command U, and you will be able to draw a round as well. So I'm gonna change a little bit the color. So I wanna make it like a little bit like that, and then I wanna increase the opacity. Great. And now we are going to add a text. So again, either you click on the sidebar or you press the letter T, and it will automatically allows you to write some text here. So in this case, I'm going to type follow, and I'm going to change the color to white. As you can see on the right side, there's a lot of properties, so I can actually change like what is the font size, font weight, size, a bunch of other properties. So in this case, I want to make it light, and probably I want to keep it to 16 pixels. Yeah, probably this is great. And the cool stuff about Framer is that it automatically figures out what is the layer that you have on the background and allows you to resize and position that correctly. You can also use, if you see it on the right side, you have like different layouts positions. So you can say, oops. You can basically here define how do you want the follow button to behave among the button container itself. So once we have the button, I'm gonna add some shadow here. So I wanna pick the same color, and I wanna make it like 20 pixels, and I wanna make it like that. Okay, let's say that I want that ugly button here. Actually, it's a little bit too much. So I'm gonna decrease a little bit the shadow. So once we have the follow button, we are gonna cover the options one. So as you can see, it's just like a round with 3 dots. So we are gonna use again the round layout. So either you click here or you press U, and I'm gonna draw very close to the button itself because I wanna keep it the same proportions. So I think I need to increase a little bit. Yes. Okay, awesome. And I'm just gonna remove the fill. I don't want any fill. I want a border, and I want to keep the border, you know, like a little bit gray, but that's okay. Great. So this is a shortcut, but if you press Command 2, basically it will automatically zoom to the item that you're actually editing. And now let's focus a little bit into the 3 dots. How can we create those 3 dots? So as you can see on the Command 2, but you need to be selecting, like you need to select a layer and then you press Command 2. Now on the left side, we are going to use a new concept, which is the drawing. The drawing is really great for creating vectors. So as you can see, once I click the drawing, you see this grid layout system, like you see all the dots in the background. That's because it's really great for creating vector images. So here I'm gonna simply create a container, kind of like a square container. I'm gonna center that, and now pressing the Shift, I'm gonna click, if you see on the top left side, you see that there is 5 icons. You see the path, you see the rect, you see the oval, you see the polygon, and you see also the star. So in this case, I'm gonna use the oval. So, okay. So either you press there or you click O. And now it's important that once you have selected once you have positioned your cursor on top of the square, make sure that you press Shift. And with the oval, I can draw some circles here. So again, you simply press Shift, go in here, and once you have the circle selected, you draw it. Again, press Shift, click on the circle, and drop. Another cool stuff, once we have the shapes, is that we are going to use the automatic positioning or the smart positioning. So now what I want to do is distribute horizontally. So as you can see, I already created the circles in the right side, like in the right position. But if in your case, for example, you would be drawing like different circles and they don't have the same distance, if you press on the distribute horizontally, it will automatically adjust that for you. All right, so we have just created our circles. I'm gonna position this layer and we are done with that part. So I'm gonna just, oops. I'm gonna zoom out. So yeah, as you can see, this is really great. We have created our first avatar, we have created the options button, and we have created the follow button. So let's go a little bit to the presentation and let's solidify the concept that we have just learned. So the first concept that we learn is the frame. So basically the frame represents a UI element. It can be an image, it can be a button, it can be whatever you want to. The idea is like it's one layer, similar to Sketch or Photoshop. It's just one layer that you can have different properties to adjust dimensions, border, radius, etc. We have also observed the graphic. So graphic is really great for creating vector images, and either you access on the sidebar panel or you press G. So you can see the frame is very easy, F, the graphic is G, and the other concept that we saw was the round, which is like a frame, but only applying a certain restriction border radius on the left and right sides. That's really perfect for making buttons. And we have done we have learned different shortcuts. So if I press Z, let's say I do this. Now I'm pressing Z. As you can see, I have like a magnifier icon. That means that I can just select a specific area of the application and it will automatically zoom in. So again, it's very simple. You just press Z and you say, I want to focus on these two elements, and the tool automatically will zoom into that specific area. Another two commands that we learn is the zoom to selection, which is Command 2. So I press here and say Command 2 and we'll zoom directly there, or Command 0 to zoom out. Great. Now let's focus on the biography. So how can we actually create this Jorge Ferreiro, a software engineer, blah, 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 blah. So basically we are gonna keep using the same concept that we used before. I'm gonna press T for creating a text. And now I can just draw, I can just type some stuff here. This is pretty similar to other tools that you have already been using. In this case, I'm gonna put a heavy and I'm gonna increase the font size probably to 24. I think this is okay. Then if I press Command D, I'm just duplicating the layer. So in this case, I'm gonna type a software engineer at Eventbrite who loves learning from designers. Emoji, emoji. So once I have that, I'm gonna do something. Instead of having a fixed size, I want to have a fixed size. So instead of just having all this long text, I want to resize the text to a very specific dimension.
But
yeah.
In my case, the problem is that this scale the size. Scaling.
Yeah, because if you see you see here. On the right side of the menu, you have either automatically, which means will be one line, or fixed size, which is I want to resize and keep it like that. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't press that and you do the resizing, it will increase the text. Perfect. And then I'm just gonna instead of heavy, I'm just gonna have like probably light font, and I'm just gonna decrease a little bit the color and also the font size, because I feel like it's too big and I just want to keep it like that. Great. So as you can see, we have created the biography. So I want to solidify some concept. So we have learned the concept of a text as a tool for basically introducing whatever you need to. So you just press the T letter and it will automatically allow you to do that. And also we'll learn another shortcut, which is Command D for duplicating the layer. In this case, the frame. Now, this is very interesting concept. We are going to cover this section about followers, following, and likes. And we are going to introduce a new concept, which is the stacks. So we are going to see what it means right away. So let's suppose that I'm just come here and say I have like 2,300. This is going to be probably bold. Probably a little bit. Yeah, bold is okay. And then I'm going to increase this to 20. And now I'm going to just Command D. I'm just going to duplicate the text. And I'm just going to type followers in this case. So once you have this, we are going to grab these two layers with a stack. But before that, I want to do some considerations here. So if I click on stack, come to these components, and draw the stack here, it will automatically group the layers before. I don't know if you saw what happens, but once I select the stack with the letter S, and I grab the two components that we have created, the stack automatically groups those elements together. And if you can see on the left side, the tool was smart enough to basically group the stack together. Okay.
So what do you select?
I'm gonna repeat what I did. So this is what we have, right? We have just simply two text.
Yeah.
So if I select the stack from here, I just simply go to these two elements, draw the stack to the size that I want. Oops, it's not getting, let me repeat this. Okay, perfect. So once you group that, the tool will automatically group the two items together. So you just simply draw a stack around the items with the size that you want to use.
What's the color?
Huh?
The color?
S. Either S or on the layout section you can select the stack. Okay. Okay, so the cool stuff about the stacks, yeah, you can, Jose, you can select the stack here. Yeah. And you just simply draw a stack around the two texts.
What is the concept of a stack?
Basically, the concept of a stack is grouping layers. So one layer could be a frame, for example, but the concept is I want to group a bunch of elements that are going to be repeated over and over in the design. It can be a list of images, or it can be, this list of statistics from the user. So it's a mechanism to group layers together.
But also you can distribute how it's aligning to the stack, right?
Exactly. This will blow your mind. Oh, I made a mistake. Hold on. I need to put a frame to group these two items together. Okay? This was what I was missing. Perfect. So I just put a frame to group those items together. And once I have those items together, I draw the stack. So let's see what happens here. Boom. So once I have this, I can go to this element, Command D, and it will automatically create new items. Jose, look.
Yep.
No? What happened?
Okay, so first of all, you need to draw.
Yeah. So I'm gonna repeat because the example was a little bit confusing. So you press on the text, and you basically say here, like 2,300, for example. Once you have the text, you duplicate the layer and put here followers. I'm just gonna decrease.
Yeah.
Once I have the followers ready, let me just put something like that. Once I have the followers ready, I put a frame to group those concepts together, to group both texts together. So I've just come here and draw a frame. The tool will automatically group those items together. So if you can see on the top left side, you will see this is a frame and the frame contains two texts. Yeah. That's because the frame already groups the items together. If you don't see that behavior, you just simply move this inside the frame and that's all. Once you have that frame ready, I'm gonna just remove the fill because I don't want it to be blue, I just want to be white. So I come here and remove it. And now it's when we are gonna use the stack that will do the trick and will do the magic. So I just select the stack here. And boom, it automatically centers the element that we have just created. And once we do that, I click on the frame. So I click on the frame that contains the two texts and press Command D 2 times to duplicate the layer. And by doing that, the stack is so smart that will automatically distribute the elements fairly. Yeah. And you will see this behavior. And as you can see on the right side, you can either change the direction of the stack, either to be in a row or either to be in a column. And you can also change different properties such as I want a space in between, I want a space around, I want a space evenly. So in this case, I'm going to select a space between. So as you can see, that will distribute the elements fairly. And once I have that, we're just going to add some borders. So I'm just gonna come here and say, these are the borders that I wanna add. And as you can see, you have like two modes for the borders. Either I wanna apply a border for all the layer, for all the frame, or I wanna add a specific borders. So in this case, if I click on the second option, if I click there, I'm gonna say, I want the top border, I don't want the right border, I want the bottom border, but I don't want the left border. And it will automatically make the layout work. Okay, great. So once we have that, let's solidify the concept that we have just learned. So we have learned the stack as a mechanism to group multiple frames or multiple images together. It's very smart, so it automatically distributes the space and you can add different customizations on top of the stack. And then we have learned another command, which is duplicating frames inside the stack. Now let's keep going. So we're gonna add an interactive scroll. So yeah, I have a video there, but what we are gonna actually try to achieve is basically a million pictures here in the house.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. So we are beautiful. So we are. By the way, is there any question on the chat? Okay, I think so far so good. Okay, I guess they are great. I'm keep monitoring the chat, so. Feel free to drop some messages there. Okay, so now we're gonna create the interactive scroll. So the first thing that we are gonna do is simply drawing a frame where we are gonna place the image. So I select with F, I have a frame, and I just simply draw the frame in the size that I want.
So it's a frame, right?
It's simply a frame. Now on this side, we are gonna increase the radius. So you can either do it right here. Okay.
Like PowerPoint does?
Huh?
Like PowerPoint does.
I don't use PowerPoint. But yeah, I guess like it's the same idea. Or you can manipulate the number right here. So in this case, I want it to be 10 pixels.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. Okay, and now we are gonna just simply add an image. So in the place where you see the fill, I'm just gonna press the 4 tab, and I'm just gonna choose an image. In this case, well,
Can I put a GIF?
I haven't tried, but
Yeah, it works.
It works, yeah. Okay, so once we have this frame, we are gonna create another stack. So we're gonna do something. Once you have the dimensions right, meaning you have the same size, just move the item to a side. And once you move to the side, I'm gonna select again the stack. So I'm just gonna press the letter S, and I'm gonna covering that item. So as you can see, I'm just drawing a very big stack. Great. Once I have this, I'm just gonna duplicate the image. So I've just pressed the image, and I'm gonna click duplicate 2 more times. Yeah.
You're gonna press what?
Command D to duplicate the frame.
Okay, got it.
All of you are here. I'm just gonna repeat it. So we just created the frame. Once we have the frame with the right dimensions of our layout, once we have the same distance, we move the frame to a side. Now we select the stack, and we just simply draw, you just simply draw a stack around that image. And then once you group the image, once you add the stack, you press again into the frame, and you simply click duplicate 2 more times. And once you do that, you just simply go to the fill and replace the image. So in this case, it could be there, and in this case, it could be there. Okay, so once we have this stack, we are gonna learn a new concept, which is interactive scroll. So on the left side, there is no shortcut for this one, but on the left side, in the sidebar, you're gonna press scroll. Okay? And once you press scroll, you go back to our main frame, and you just simply draw a scroll, and consider to use the same size that you were using for the design. So once you have created this interactive scroll, you see here there is like an arrow, you see? So this is to link elements. I guess that's pretty the same as you use in Sketch. So you just press here and select the stack that we have just created. Boom! And once we do that, you will automatically see all the elements from the right side inside the scroll view. Now, this is very exciting. So we are gonna preview what we have just created. So as you can see on the top right side of the application, all of you see the 3 icons, which is kind of like a play button, like a mobile, and comments. So I'm gonna press on the play button, and boom, this will automatically open a phone with the application that we have just created. And the cool stuff is that this application is completely interactive. So you can actually pretend that you are, scrolling, and also you see the effect from iOS. Just one small comment, as you can
What effect?
this effect, like the bouncing effect. So as you can see, there is a problem, which is our images has a border radius, but when I scroll, this gets like a little bit odd. So how can we fix that? Basically, we can come to the scrollable view that we have just created, and we can add a radius as well. So in this case, I'm going to say, I want to add 10. And if we refresh if we see again the design, now like it's going to look a little bit better, especially on the top side. I'm pointing to this side. Now, now you see like the border radius. Basically, like the problem is if you don't add a border radius in the scroll view, this part will get off. So you need to add a border radius to make it look great. Okay, so we have just created our first project. Are you excited? Woo! Great job. Okay, so to solidify concept, we have learned what is an interactive scroll as a way to emulate the native scroll behavior for different phones. And we are going to summarize this part. So we have learned what is a frame as a UI element. We have learned what is a graphic as a way of drawing vectors and drawing icons and whatever you need to. We have learned what is a text as a mechanism to input information. And we have seen the stack as a way of grouping elements together, as well as the interactive scroll. And again, like these are useful commands that later on, when you revisit the slides, you can see it. Do you want Coke?
I'm gonna grab.
Okay, gonna grab. Okay.
Now you can tell the important.
We are gonna actually going harder now. So let me go to the presentation mode again. Well, actually, I can just show you this. So the cool stuff about this FRAMER is that also you have like a bunch of lists of packages that you can install. So if you see on the sidebar, if you press the last one, it will pop up all the packages. So in this case, you can search for iPhone X. Okay. Oops. You just simply install this new package. And once you install the package...
Sorry, which is the name of the package?
iPhone. So you just search for iPhone and you just install the package. You just click on install. And as you can see, there are a lot of cool stuff because you can have a parallax effect, you have icons, you have device, so you have a lot of stuff. So once you have installed that particular package, we are gonna go again to the components library. This is the third tab, sorry. So if you see here, I'm in the third. Oh, you just, yeah, Emilio, tell him.
You can search iPhone.
Okay, so on this left side, you will have all the list of the components that you currently have. So forget about these ones because those are the ones that I created. But now let's focus on this iPhone X kit. So since we have installed a new package, now we can basically see the components that they have created for us. So in this case, there is the home button as well as the status bar. So I just simply drop the status bar. As you can see right now, we are not seeing anything, but there is a reason for that. The reason is because this particular component accepts two different appearances. We are selecting light, but if you click on dark, boom, you will see the dark mode. Cool, huh? And then, boom. It doesn't work?
Yeah, you need to click the buttons.
Yeah, and then boom. I'm gonna draw the home button. So again, I click that particular button and I drag and drop into the application. And again here, I can just choose and select the dark mode.
Boom.
Great. So we have learned like there's a lot of packages that we can use, and later on I'm going to show you how to create your own packages as well.
The concept of a package is like a plugin?
It's basically like a bunch of reusable components. So components that the community has created, so you don't need to reinvent the wheel all the time.
Okay.
I'm not familiarized with the concept of a sketch in that sense, but I would assume that it's kind of like the same idea.
Yeah, I think that is more like a plugin.
But in this case, it's focusing on components.
Okay.
The cool stuff is that your components can have behaviors, and you can add lots of stuff to the components.
Okay.
And another cool stuff that you may be very interested about is that in Sketch, you can actually, in Framer, you can import a Sketch files. So this is a very good example. So you go, oh, it's working the video, I'm sorry. So you open your Sketch file, you Command Z to copy the content and Command V to paste, and that is automatically converted into frame like UI elements. So as you can see, we have the face as a frame and we have all the different text. So you can do whatever you want with those. Now let's go deeper and let's see the interactive prototypes at Framer. So I'm gonna, since I wanna cover more topics, I'm just gonna briefly walk through the solution, and later on you can implement this at home. I'm gonna send you the files so you can play with those. But the concept for doing this is very simple. As you can see in the design, I'm gonna go to Framer again.
Okay.
As you can see, we are gonna introduce a new concept, which is design components, as a way of, like reusable components that you can have multiple of those. So let me go to the application again. So how is this working? Basically, well, actually, I can just duplicate and show you how I implemented that. Okay, so the first thing that we are gonna do, I'm not expecting you to follow this because it will take a little bit more time, but later on you can review on the video. So I'm just gonna choose again a frame, and this is gonna be an iPhone, oops, and that's gonna be an iPhone. So the next thing that we're gonna do is, I'm just gonna simply add a new text, in this case, feature albums. I'm just gonna put a medium font size. Well, probably a bold font size. And once I have that, I'm just gonna create these elements here, right? So I'm just gonna simply come, oops, what's going on? Damn, hold on. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm just gonna create those elements. So in this case, I'm gonna come to the main frame and basically say, okay, I'm gonna create this element, for example, with this particular size. I'm just gonna leave 30 pixels on the left and 30 pixels on the side, and I'm just gonna update this to be 30 pixels. So once you have this item, I'm just gonna move outside of the main frame as we did before. And I'm gonna add some border radius here. So in this case, I added 10. Then we are gonna change, as we did before, the image, the background image. So let's say that I wanna use this beautiful animal. So once I have this beautiful animal, I'm just gonna simply add a new frame, which is gonna be for the gradient. So again, I draw a new frame. In this case, it's fill, but I'm gonna change to be a gradient one. So as you can see in the second tab, I can change this to be a gradient. I'm gonna choose the first color here because I wanna be a black gradient. So I'm gonna select the first one and I'm just gonna put it to opacity 0. So I'm just moving the slider to be opacity 0. Great. Once I do that, I'm going to select the other one, and I'm going to change the color to be black. In this case, I want an opacity probably of 88 or 80. So once we have these gradients, we're just going to simply add 2 text fields. Again, you can press T, the letter T, or you can simply select on the layout sidebar. So in this case, I'm going to be Africa tour. Yeah. And I'm just going to duplicate the layer. So I'm going to add an icon here. So this is going to be a pin. And then I'm going to see this was taken in Africa. I'm just going to decrease the font size because it feels to me that it's a little bit too much. Okay, and then I'm just going to decrease the light to kind of like make the hierarchy a little bit better. Okie dokie. So once we have this, what we are going to actually do is we are going to create a page. So again, if you see on the sidebar, in the interactive one, you will see the page. I don't know if you can see it, but it's basically right there, page. Question?
Yes, I don't know how to change the gradient.
The gradient is very easy. So you create a new frame.
Yeah.
You go to fill, and on the second here in the fill, there, boom, you select that one. Okay.
Yeah, but how do you change the color?
Okay, so you see that when you create a gradient, they created this line with 2 rounds, circles.
Okay, you need to only click. Yeah, okay.
So you just click in the first one, change the color and the opacity, and you click on the second one and change the color and the opacity.
Como un tiro, chaval.
Great. So the next thing that we are gonna do, it's basically, I'm gonna grab this element into a page. But you may ask me, but Jorge, but you may ask me, Jorge, I want to add like more albums, right? So I don't want to only have the Africa one. Is there a way that I don't need to replicate the same over and over, like creating the gradient, adding the frame, creating the text? Yes, there is a really magical way to achieve that. So pay a lot of attention to this one. So you select the whole frame, so you press here on the outer frame, and you right click. And in this drop down, you will see the create component entry.
Okay.
Okay, so I repeat the same thing. So you don't click here, don't click like on the text, no. Click on the place where it says frame, okay? And once you have the frame, you right click and you press create component. This is very important. Okay, so I press on create component. And as you can see, this is not longer saying this is a simply frame. It's saying this is a frame, but it's the master frame. Why? Because this is the template. We have just simply created a new template. Okay? Okay. And now, if I go on the left side, let me rename this. So I'm just going to rename to Vamos Niño. Okay, album Vamos Niño. That's the new name. So as you can see, we see the album Vamos Niño. Okay. If I go to the components tab, so if I go there, you will see that we see our new component. It's an album Vamos Niño. You see there?
Where?
Here. So if you go to the third tab, components.
Como un tiro se va esto.
Okay, so once we have that, we can reuse this element over and over. So we can simply go here, click on Vamos Niño in the album and drop.
Lucky hot.
And once you drop, you will see that instead of saying Album Vamos Niño master, we see Album Vamos Niño instance. Because the idea is very simple, is we have created the master component, but anytime that we want to create a new component in the UI, we create an instance of that component.
I think it's good.
And the cool stuff about this one is that if I go to the master and say, instead of Africa Tour, I put an emoji, it will also update the instances. And you may say, well, Jorge, I don't like that, because the idea of this is basically I want every instance to have like different images, different text. So there is a way to do that. Instead of editing the master one, I'm gonna just simply go to the instance. Boom. So yeah, for those of you in the Hangouts, it's just Jose saying bullshit. No, I'm kidding. Saying jokes. So now, if you go to the instance, you can just simply click on the Africa Tour and say birthday, holiday, birthday party. Okay? And you can also change this and say it's gonna be Madrid. So we are allowing every instance to change their properties. And once, if we want to change the image, you just simply click on the frame and substitute the image. And say, well, in this case, I want... I want this one, for example. Oh, it's a shortcut in Mac. So this is not Framer related.
Okay.
If you click Command Control Space, Command Control Space all together, and this will work for every application in your computer. So if you're on Slack or you are like writing an email, you will see this modal open. So Command Control Space, but this is not Framer specific.
Okay, perfect.
Like I can go to the browser and basically come here and say the same stuff. Come on, Diro. Okay, great. And now I'm just gonna duplicate this instance, and I'm just gonna change the instance properties.
I have one question for
Yep.
Is there any way that you can overwrite on the right panel the text and the image? Instead of trying to go to the component and copy and paste the code, the text or whatever, which is the text.
You mean to change the master only?
No, the overwrite the text on the right panel.
I think there...
In the same way that you can change the appearance into the home button and the top navigation.
Yeah.
I don't know if there is any way. So,
we can take a look later. I think so, but we can take a look. Okay, so and I'm just gonna do this quickly. So I'm just gonna replace this image by this one, and instead of the party, I'm gonna just say, oops. I'm just gonna say forest. Okay, great. So pay lots of attention to this one. This is very important. So we are gonna introduce a new concept, which is the page. And the page, huh? Okay. Vamos, Maca. Como un tiro. Go, Helen. Vamos, Pilar. Okay. Como un tiro. Okay, so we are going to introduce a new concept, which is the interactive page. So you just simply click on the page, Okay. And in this case, we are gonna draw full size. Okay. So we are gonna draw the full size of the phone.
Frame, no?
No, page.
Eh?
Yeah. You can see the page on the sidebar again in the interactive section. So you see link, scroll, and page. We saw before scroll. Now we are taking a look to the page.
Click, 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 click.
Ah, si tenemos 55 dispositivos ahí.
Okay. Can you keep listening to me? Does it? No, I don't think so. Hold on. Okay. Okay, great. So once we have created the page, pay lots of attention to this one. So as you can see in the page, you can link page to very specific elements. Okay. So we are gonna do link to the first element. We are gonna select this again, and we are gonna link it to the second element. Okay. And we are gonna click and select the third element. As you can see on the bottom right part of the application, we see the content. So the content is basically each of the elements that we have selected, and we can change that if we need. Okay. So once we have that, the cool stuff about the page is that it allows you to put some gaps. Okay, so I've just created, instead of a stretch, I've just said I want a width auto width. So I'm changing to be auto. And then I added 30 pixels of gap. Okay? Mm-hmm. Oops. Okay. And now what we are gonna do is basically adding one effect. So if you see here, you have like cube. Okay, I don't know why there is like some repetition. Okay, so we're gonna select the effect that we want. So in this case, it can be cover flow, it can be wheel, it can be cube. So let's say, for example, that I select cover flow. So in the live preview, you will see this effect. Okay. Yeah, question?
Also, I see that also you can put the direction vertical.
Yeah, you can change the direction if you want. So,
but if we change, what is the difference between a scroll?
Look at this.
Only the effect.
Only the direction.
Yeah, but what's the difference if we put an interactive scroll?
These animations.
Like only the animation.
Yeah. You have more control over the design and the animation itself, because in the scroll it's just meant to be like a bunch of elements that you can just scroll.
Okay, perfect.
And we can actually change to be, for example, wheel, so you will see this effect. Or you can just pile, so when I move to the right, it will just get stuck. So there are a lot of cool stuff, or even like cube. And as you can see, like there are a lot of properties, like if you're allowing the user to drag in or not, if you're allowing the user to do a momentum, which is going faster, so allowing the user to go faster. As you can see, it goes extremely faster. So you have a lot of stuff. And the last thing, I'm just gonna show you I'm just gonna show you the video because we don't have that much time for this part. But basically, key concepts. So we have created a design component. So we have the master as well as each of the instances, which are like copies of that master. Then we have seen the groups as a mechanism to get together like different elements, like stacks, etc., but with effects. This is the process for creating a component. Okay, and the cool stuff about design components is that it allows you to reuse your logic over and over. So in this case, we were just using like a card, a media card, but it can be text, it can be buttons, it can be whatever you need to keep consistency across your application. And the cool stuff is that in a company like this one, we can basically say, I want to create a bunch of components, which can be EDS ones, and you just distribute them to the people. But the cool stuff about Framer is that you can also use the components that engineers use, so you don't have duplication. You will see live what the engineers have. I haven't tried that out yet, but that's something that I think is feasible. So the concept is design components avoid repetitions. Okay, great. Just something real quick that I'm gonna demo you before moving to the next section. So we saw the page, and in order to do like different effects, like if you see from the design, I created this delete effect, right? So pretty simple. So the way that I do that is, as you can see, I have a page, and I'm saying to this page, hey, this is the first element that I want you to use. So in this case, like an image with the family and my house, like the album. And then you tell the page, and this is the second element that I want you to have. So you have first the album and then the delete button. And that's, if you see the, hold on. Okay, so the idea is basically you create a page saying this is the family album, so you just create that particular component, and then you create another component which is the delete button. And you create a page, I'll link them and say, this is the first component and this is the second component, and you just add an animation. So in this case, for example, if I go here, I add in any effect, but I can add like cube, that is gonna be like that. Or I can change this and basically say, I want a pile. So it's gonna, you see like the effect is changing a little bit. Or it can be like a wheel. So do like that. So it all depends, but Framer allows you to do that, and it's just like a bunch of like one page with a bunch of components. That is the regular flow that the user will have.
I have a question.
Yeah, tell me. For me, programming is very similar to like all the languages that you speak. So you speak English, you speak Spanish, you may speak German. Video, it's over. That's all. But you can still watch more videos. Maybe you can enjoy this video. Or maybe you can enjoy this video. Or maybe this one. Or you know what? Maybe you can watch all of them. And by the way, if you really enjoy the channel, subscribe right here. Just one click and you are